Hello everyone, it's Helen at Journaling Planet, and today I'm going to flip through the March pages of my artsy visual diary. In the last visual diary flip through, I explained how I'd realised I really needed two different visual diaries, one for doing more artistic endeavours and another for kind of smashing life ephemera and sticking in Disney stickers and, cutting out Snoopy books and all that kind of thing, kind of more leaning into sort of more childlike or childish ephemera. I haven't actually got around to putting that other one together yet because I've been so focused on this artistic journal. But I will do that at some point. And when I do, I will do a flip through of it. But this video is going to be focused on the artistic journal that I've been working on. But let's get started on the pages. So these are just the March pages. I started out in my local library art club doing a grid journal inspired by the local beach. It's only around the corner from my house and I draw a lot of inspiration from it. I've written poetry about it. I intend to write much more about it in the coming weeks, months and years, and also it pops up in my art a lot. So this is sort of representative of the lighthouse. There are fisher people there. The lighthouse is red and white, although a kind of muted red. And this represents either the sun or the moon, whichever you prefer, rising up over the lighthouse. This one is fairly self-explanatory. It's about the ocean. This is a little grid about beachcombing. And this is about the beach huts. The little triangles here were cut out of wallpaper and they represent some beach huts that sit by the sea. Now, last time I showed one of my grid journals, I got a comment saying that what I was doing wasn't really grid journaling because they're all supposed to look the same and they're all supposed to be inside the lines. And I don't reply to comments like that because everyone's entitled to their opinion and I'm not going to get in the comments and say, how dare you question my methods. However, I'm also of the opinion that no one is the art police. So that person's comment, I just left it there, but I didn't respond to it. Because I'm always going to do what I want in my art journal. That's the whole point of it. And I really don't think there are any set of laws about grid journaling. I don't think that's a thing, that there are a set of laws about it. I think everyone comes to it slightly differently. So this is my grid journal page. And I just give each grid, or square in the grid, I should say, a title. So this one is Sunrise. I've decided that's the sun. Sunrise at Roker Lighthouse, the North Sea, beachcombing and beach huts at Roker. This page, I wanted to put these vintage postcards in my journal because they represented things that I wanted to journal about. So I decided to create a whole vintage page which had pockets just to house these postcards. This is mostly book page that you're seeing with the odd bit of reproduction paper torn up and placed in the background. This was not supposed to be a rabbit head, but unfortunately, when fussy cutting this woman out, I cut off a significant chunk of her face. So I ended up having to fix the whole thing and stick a piece of lace and a rabbit's head on it. I kind of like how it's turned out, but it wasn't meant to be like that. It was supposed to be two women in the picture. There's a bit of stamping, and this tag is the one that I showed in my video about how to use plastic in your journal, 5 no-sew ways to use plastic in your journal. So I will link to that below if you're interested in seeing that and an explanation of that. This, I think, came from Daphne's diary, and these are just stickers from a sort of more adult sticker book. But I really like how it holds together. I particularly love this lady who is from a vintage magazine, and I've just wanted to put her in my journal for ages, and I finally had an excuse. I backed the whole thing with book page. Very big book page theme going on here. I happened to go past our local windmill. We have actually 3 local windmills. This is one of 3 that I happened to go past on the bus recently, and it reminded me that I hadn't done any collage about it in my journal. And so I took some pieces of paper and cut them out in the shape of the windmill. The sails are just old wallpaper, and this is just a little bit of reproduction paper. And all of these things in the sky are just scraps. The words come from a dream dictionary, which I really love using a dream dictionary. This was cut out from an old vintage annual, and the flowers are just vintage reproduction paper. This is a map. The hill is a map. So it's all just kind of odds and ends, a bit of craft paper, but mostly reclaimed scraps. And I'll read you a little bit of what it says in the Dream Dictionary. Wind, this symbolises forces beyond your control. And it also says, dreaming of looking at a strong wind can symbolise stress. A pleasant breeze means calmness. So there you go. This page, I got a series of books at a thrift store that were like Getty Images. So they were in decades like 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, etc. And I have been absolutely going mad with them in my work. You will see them pop up again later in the journal. And basically, I have been cutting out the images that I really, really like and then thinking about how I could embellish them. In this case, I think this was from a flower catalogue. This was from one of those collage cutout books that I got for Christmas. This is just a bit of book page with a stamp on it and stamping. And I wanted to house this postcard because I was doing a lot of reading. And this lady is sitting, this is a statue of somebody sitting reading. And I also just put in the materials that I used to create my windmill, just so I would remember all the bits and pieces that I used and, you know, the inspiration for it. So that was great. This page is what I've called Cabinet of Curiosities Paper Edition Volume 1, because I will do another few pages like this in my journal. And it's just something that I picked up on Junie's Everything Journal course, where you just draw some squares on the page and stick all the things that you're really interested in at that moment in time in the squares. So there's lots of different things going on here. So there's map pages from the place where I live. I picked up this cigarette card at a local kind of flea market we went to, and I wanted to remember that we went to that. So I stuck that in. Underneath is a little glimpse of Care Bear sticker. I'm mostly keeping things like that to the other journal, but I couldn't help myself there. Bit of washi tape with some stamping. I have done some stamping on the odd thing here and there just to kind of add a little bit more of a feature to it. But lots of different things. Old wallpaper, something that I was given in the very first collage class I ever took. So just lots of things that were kind of sparking my interest at that moment in time. And they each mean something to me. And obviously I had some Easter chocolate. So that was important to me as well. So it just is a kind of paper record of things that I'm really interested in at this time. And I think it looks really nice on the page. This is kind of a spring-themed spread. And this tag I made on my Pimp Your Craft paper video, which I'll link to below. And I just used it to document how I was feeling about the artistic style that was developing in the journal. And on this particular tag, I was talking about layouts that I really have enjoyed doing in the journal so far. So I'm just keeping a record of layouts that I particularly like. Two pockets is one particular layout that I love. And particularly love the old book page that I use for this, and I do love putting in a little white rabbit just running away there just for fun. Another grid journal, this time inspired by spring and the flowers that were springing up in my local park, and I really enjoyed mixing old book page, postage stamp, catalogue images and paint on this page. Just had a lot of fun with it. The colour scheme on this, the palette, really pleases me, and it's one I'm going to remember, the sort of purple, green, yellow and white and black. I think they just go together really well. This is a page where I was doing some blind contour drawing, which I will do a separate video on. But essentially it's a technique where you don't look at the page as you're drawing, and this is the Bird of Paradise plant that I've got in my living room, and this might seem really odd, but I'm slightly obsessed with Coca-Cola and I've been trying to lay off it, so I decided I would draw the last tin that I was going to drink for a while. And I think I've only had, since that tin, I think I've only had one, and that was when I was out for a meal. So that may not sound like a big cold turkey, but for me that's a huge thing. I used to drink one like every 2 days or something. And I'm trying to cut down, not really because I think it's absolutely imperative, I'm just trying to do that. Something good in my life. And in the pockets, just got some journaling cards that I think I made on the channel, and if I did, I will link the video below. And I think I did. I make so much stuff that it's difficult to keep track, and I'm just sort of again journaling kind of learning curves that I've had with the journal. I love this first one. Do not create a pocket that opens facing the spine, which is what I did. Where did I do that? I think, is it this one here? Yeah, it's a nuisance. You can't really pull the thing out so easily. What did I do that for? Silly woman. I wrote it down because if I write it down, I will not forget to do it. So that was just a double page spread where I used some drawings that I did as pockets. This postcard was made from this. I just took the picture, did some very small digital adjustments to the contrast, and then printed it online, and it made this really beautiful postcard. And I sent a few to my pen pals and my family. They really loved it. And I decided, since I wanted to document how it looked digitally, that I would make it into a pocket in the journal. Another little tag in here where I'm again journaling about the journaling process and things that I'm learning. This is a layout that I made in a previous video about you don't need to draw if you can cut, and it's just showing you how you can draw with collage. And this time I did one of the local lighthouses. Just like windmills, we have loads of local lighthouses around here because we're by the ocean. I really enjoyed doing some extra detail with the marker pens once the video had already been shot, and so there were a few finishing touches beyond the video, but I will link below so you can check that out if you like. Another cabinet of curiosities. You'll see a Care Bear makes a little appearance again, and a cake box and some more chocolate. Again, I've sort of laid off chocolate since doing this. It's quite funny to see that popping up earlier in the month, and then later in the month I'm like, I should probably just lay off this for a while. So just more paper that I'm, interested in, and that is taking my fancy, and that I'm sort of thinking about in terms of palette and pattern. This is the weirdest spread in this month because it doesn't really fit with anything else. I'm not really totally sure why I did it, apart from I found these napkins in a little store when I was out with my aunt and uncle, and I was just obsessed with them. So I suppose it shows my obsession with the orange napkins. I guess that's what this is documenting, but I would say this is more something that would have sat better in a separate art journal, but I don't know what possessed me. I just decided I was gonna make this layout. It doesn't pertain to anything in my life. I just really liked those oranges and wanted to use them. And I'd also found this kind of examination test book in a local thrift store, and I wanted to use those pages as well. So again, I suppose it just shows the paper that I'm obsessed with, but it doesn't actually document anything that I actually did in my life apart from the collage itself. This is yet another spring-themed layout. I went to see the film Lisa Frankenstein, which almost universally got panned by critics. But if you like Edward Scissorhands and you like Heathers, you will probably like Lisa Frankenstein. And I love both those movies. In the movie, she does a grave rubbing. And so I went to my local cemetery, and I also did, very respectfully, without causing any damage to the headstone, a grave rubbing. And then I took some photos in the cemetery, and it's the one that is local to my parents. It's where I grew up, and I just did this little blind contour drawing of this. So you can see that they don't look much alike because it's a blind contour drawing. And I did that with a soft water-soluble graphite pencil, and then I was able to go over it in water and make it all smudgy. This page in the background was actually the worst page in the whole journal, I think, because I started out doing something completely different on it, and I hated it. Like, I really hated it. So then I just decided to just make it a really painty page and do a kind of complementary colours watercolour spatter. So blue and yellow and green and black in the background. And then I decided I was also going to just like kind of paste a napkin over there again to blend it in. Go in with some Posca pens for contrast. My dad got this stamp through the post, and I just asked if I could have that to stick in there. And then I decided to do a big daffodil because I feel like a big daffodil will always improve any page. And then afterwards I went to the cemetery, so I actually had a photograph to stick in as well. But I actually really like this page now. But when I was first doing it, I was like, this is such a mess. What a mess this is. So I'm not going to say it's the best page in the whole journal or the prettiest page in the whole journal, but I like the layers and the texture to it now, whereas when I started out I really hated the whole thing. So there you go. These photos have been faux laminated, and again, I talk about how I do that in the video about how to use plastics in your journal. This is another grid journal from when I went to Rippen Cathedral. It's a bit of a bonkers page because Rippen Cathedral has all these really ornate, weird things in it, and I kind of wanted to document them all. So it's a bit of an odd page. Like they had wooden carvings at the ends of the pews that had been carved into elephant heads and things. And there were also other strange creatures and this like weird, like big gold hand and just all kinds of things. So I just decided that I would make a really crazy grid journal that represented just kind of how weird it was in a really wonderful way. Rippen is a small market town not far from where my parents live. So we had a nice afternoon there with my mum, and this is the result of that. And on the brown paper, I've just typed up on my typewriter the different materials that I've used. It's mostly stamping, book page, bit of acrylic pen, and some chalk pastel, bit of tissue paper for the poppies. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. So mostly this is from an old piece of wallpaper. I do really well out of old pieces of wallpaper. I think they're just such useful materials. This is all the stuff like the ephemera that I got when I was at Rippen Cathedral. A very straightforward layout, just used the leaflet that we got for pockets and then cut up the leaflet and any nice images like this one. Just decided to stick it in the pockets so that I could remember, and I couldn't resist a couple of nice postcards in the gift shop. I see it as supporting the church. This page was another one that I absolutely hated to begin with. I could not get the balance right. It was kind of all over the shop, but looking at it now, I don't hate it. It's fine. I don't know what I was thinking in my head this would look like when I was making it, but it just never was quite meeting the expectations I was hoping for. So it took me a while to finish. And in the end, it turned out that a lot of gesso was the answer. So this has been quite heavily gessoed with my finger. And this is another blind contour drawing, and just typed up blue daffodil. And I decided I was going to paint daffodils in blue because there are some daffodils outside my house that we planted for my husband when he was in hospital, and we hoped when he came home he would see them, but he didn't come home. Instead, unfortunately, he passed away. So I thought, well, I'll dry one of the daffodils and faux laminate it, and I will paint a blue daffodil to kind of represent the grief aspect. And this is also a little print of a blue daffodil that I did from an egg carton stamp that I made. And again, I'll link below to the egg carton stamp video in case you want to try it for yourself. This is kind of a little bit of an in-joke because my husband and his family really love custard. So it's a really random thing to have at the bottom of the page. And I think it's one of the things that kind of frustrated me as I was creating this, because it didn't really, apart from the fact that custard is yellow and this is yellow and this is yellow, it didn't really blend with the page. But I do like how this is finished up. And in here, there's just a little dog postcard because I took my dog to the groomers. So I just wanted to document that. And I've been saving that image to document my dog going to the groomers for a very long time because there is nothing funnier to me than a dog wearing hair rollers. I mean, that's just hilarious. This last page it was still drying, as you can tell from me taking that off, is just documenting a night at the ballet that I had with my friends. These pictures of Isadora Duncan are from the Getty books that I mentioned earlier, and I did a book page background. I pasted down the pictures of Isadora Duncan. I had this butterfly cut out from a book, and then I decided that I would try and paint, which is not my strong suit, a ballet shoe, and it was fine. It's worked out okay. And then did some pink paint gesso stencil and some black stamping in the background as well. I also randomly at my local cinema picked up a leaflet with a bank ballerina on it, and I decided I would fussy cut that out and faux laminate it, and then write on the back who I saw the ballet with and when I saw the ballet with. So that is all my pages for March. If you've got any questions about any of the techniques that I've used, please do let me know in the comments below. I hope this video has been inspiring. Please let me know if there's anything that you do in your visual journal that you think I might benefit from. I'm always looking for new ideas. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.